The Republican presidential ticket is making its debut on the campaign trail. Former President Donald Trump and his running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, are going to hold a joint campaign rally in Grand Rapids, Michigan on Saturday. Trump formally accepted the Republican presidential nomination Thursday in his first public remarks since the assassination attempt on his life. Meanwhile, President Biden says he will return to the campaign trail next week. Right now, he's in isolation at his home in Delaware after testing positive for COVID. He hasn't been seen in public since Wednesday, and despite the campaign insisting he is not dropping out of the race, more and more Democratic lawmakers are urging him to step aside. For now, the White House says the president is focused on recovery, and a note from the president's doctor reads, quote, his loose, non-productive cough and hoarseness continue to be his primary symptoms, but they have improved meaningfully. CBS News campaign reporter Taurean is in Michigan ahead of the Trump rally, but we begin with CBS News correspondent Willie James Inman. He's in Rehoboth Beach, where President Biden is recovering. So it has been more than 3 weeks since that debate, and since then we've seen how Democrats have responded. It's also been 3 days since testing positive for COVID took the president off the campaign trail. Can you give us a sense of the pressure that President Biden is facing right now?
Hey there, Lana. Good to be with you on this Friday evening. Well, President Biden is facing immense pressure from Democrats. Over 24 Democratic leaders calling for the president to step aside in his re-election bid. But as you mentioned, the campaign, the president, they say that he is in it to go to the election to run again for president of the United States. And that's part of the messaging here that you hear from the campaign and from the White House. In that note that we saw from the president's physician, it said also that the president continues to do the work of the American people. On top of that, campaign officials stressed that President Biden isn't going anywhere, that he's not quitting. But still, nonetheless, you see all of this pressure around the president, these public statements coming out, and also that behind the scenes, closed door pressure amidst all of this happening with that Democratic debate fallout. So the president staying on message, staying in the campaign, although he is recovering from COVID. But we do expect to potentially see him on the campaign trail next week.
Willie, I'm curious about the effect that the president being down with COVID is having on the vice president. Obviously, we see her out on the campaign trail. Is she taking on more duties as the president is recovering from COVID?
Yeah, in fact, we are seeing the vice president out and about more. We saw her in North Carolina yesterday. She is expected to travel to Milwaukee, Wisconsin early next week, and she was asked, according to campaign sources, to be on a call with donors and supporters to kind of rally the troops, so to speak. So Vice President Kamala Harris out front while the president is recovering from COVID-19. And I'll also point out that there was a campaign all-hands call, a rally the troops call, so to speak, in light of this situation. The campaign has admitted that this has been a tough time for them amidst all these calls for the president to drop out of the race. But you continue to see, at least publicly, they're out there putting out that message. And you see leaders like Kamala Harris and others surrounding the president, being surrogates for him amid this COVID-19 diagnosis, Lana.
Yeah, we saw her there at that ice cream shop with some star power next to her. Willie James Inman, thank you. Former President Donald Trump formally accepted the Republican nomination for president Thursday night in Milwaukee. It was the first time that Trump spoke publicly since a gunman attempted to assassinate him at a rally last weekend in Pennsylvania. The former president said that despite this, his political movement won't be stopped.
We have to make the most of every day for the people and for the country that we love. The attacker in Pennsylvania wanted to stop our movement, but the truth is the movement has never been about me. It has always been about you. It's your movement. It's the biggest movement in the history of our country by far. Can't be stopped.
Joining us now is CBS News campaign reporter Taurean. He's in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where Trump and Vance will hold their very first rally together as running mates. It's also going to be 1 week, though, since the assassination attempt in Pennsylvania. I'm wondering what the mood's like.
Well, Lana, so far it's pretty quiet. I would imagine quite a few Trump supporters are still on a high after what they're calling a pretty successful Republican National Convention. We've seen Trump's former rivals rally around him, really looking to build on this message of unity that was top priority for the party going into this week. Nikki Haley speaking at the convention, also invoking that assassination attempt as a plea to Republicans to reach out across the aisle, cast a bigger tent for the party, and even look to bring in some independent and maybe some disillusioned Democrats. But here just behind me is where that event will take place tomorrow. Like you said, Donald Trump and his now official running mate, J.D. Vance, are set to take the stage together to make a case to Republicans to keep that momentum going now days after the convention.
Well, and as you were at the convention in Milwaukee, I'm wondering if anything really surprised you, if you had some big takeaways from the event.
Well, one thing that I was watching was just how much of Nikki Haley's message would land. I talked to former Arkansas governor and also a presidential hopeful, Asa Hutchinson, this week, and he said he was encouraged by the fact that she was invited to speak. He thinks it's a step in the right direction to maybe extending an olive branch, but he was also at the same time discouraged by the reception that current Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell received. We know that he and Donald Trump have not always seen eye to eye, but McConnell, just like Haley, said that they're both backing the president, so it was a bit telling to him that he received those boos during the nomination or the roll call process. One other thing that stood out was this introduction of J.D. Vance. The reason why many Republicans tell me they believe he was picked because of his roots in the Midwest. Of course, being from Ohio helps, but the campaign is making a concerted effort to flip back states like Wisconsin, like Michigan, which is why we see them coming here tomorrow. And during his speech, he invoked the Midwest, Wisconsin 5 times, Pennsylvania quite a few times as well, Ohio 9 times. It's clear that their message moving forward is that they want to reach not just across the country to bring in voters to their coalition, but specifically voters in the Midwest, what was formerly known as the Blue Wall for Democrats.
Small, thank you.